Hello everyone, welcome to Salesforce Helping Hand channel. So in this today's video, we are going to discuss Salesforce Developer Flow. On the basis of Flow, we are going to discuss the interview question and answer. What questions can be asked in the Flow? Okay. So let me quickly share my screen. I think you can see my screen, right? So let me open the document here. Uh, 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 uh. Okay, go to the this notes. Yes. So let's discuss, guys. So the very first question is, can you call using, can you call LWC component using the Salesforce flow? So the answer is yes. As the winter 23 release, a new lightning flow component is available. That means you can call LWC component from the flow. Okay. So what you have to do using which you can call screen flow inside the LWC component, you have to make sure flow API name, enter the API name of the screen that you can create it above all inside LWC flow input variable, and you can pass the input parameter to the screen flow. Okay. So vice versa is also possible. You can also call the screen flow from the LWC component. There might be some requirement you will get. So that's what you can get. You can achieve this using the flow, guys. Okay. Now the next question is, how many types of flow available in Salesforce? So if you see this diagram, okay. So this diagram is say basically flow are the majorly two types, screen flow and the auto launch flow. So under the auto launch flow, we have auto launch flow with the no trigger, and another one we have the auto launch flow with the schedule trigger, and the other one we have the auto launch flow with the record trigger. And guys, one more important trigger we have that platform event trigger. Okay, platform event trigger flow. So these all types of flow we have available in Salesforce, and in details you can go and check how you can implement if you would like to do that. I'll be definitely going to record on each and every flow, and I'll be giving the picture in depth. Okay. So the next question is, how can you get the current record ID in flow? That is again very important question. So let's say you need to create the one screen flow, right? And that screen flow you want to call using the one button, or you can say quick actions, which is available on the account record. Now, what you want to do in that particular flow, you want to check the current record ID, because you need to query some related records, or you need to do some further things. So for that, you require the current record ID. That means the account ID. Okay. So that is very simple. What you have to do, you have to just create this record ID, with the name of record ID, one variable. Automatically, whenever your flow will execute, this record ID will get the from the Salesforce the current record ID. Okay, so you don't have to do anything; just needs to create the record ID. And that record ID you can use where in other things. So then it will be successfully give you the particular record ID. Okay. How can you call the Apex from flow? I think most of you know about it. How you can call the Apex class from the flow. So guys, for that, there are few things which you need to keep in mind. First thing, whatever method you are going to call, that should be invocable, right? And there should be naming convention. You have to make sure, like whatever class you are going to call, so that class should be available, and your class should be public and static. Okay, your class should be public and static, and the variable which you are going to use in the Apex class, so those variables also should be static, right? Okay, because those variable you will be definitely calling from the flow. Let's say you are passing some data. Let's say you are passing the opportunity record, you are passing the account record along with some fields, right? So that kind of things you can do. Further on, I'll be creating one video on the same, and I'll show you exactly how you can create it. Okay. In the flow series, I'm going to record soon. I'll show you there. Now, the next question is, guys, what are the limitation of Salesforce flow? Definitely, each and everything has some limitations. So same way, Salesforce flow also has some limitation, guys. So what are those limitations? So as per the governor limit, right? So there are some limitation on this. And let's say you have some complexity, complex logic, so that's what you cannot achieve using the flow just because of the governor limit and limitation on UI and customization for screen flow. So that is again, why you are go for LWC component. That's, you can do so many things there, right? So that's what you are not able to achieve still in the screen flow. So that's what we need the screen flow, I mean the LWC component in some cases. Okay. So you can just basically understand something which you are not able to achieve using the screen flow, record trigger flow. Let's say if you are not able to achieve using something in the screen flow. So that's what you go for the LWC component. And something you are not able to achieve using the record trigger flow. So that means you are going using the apex trigger. Okay, that means the coding part, guys. Okay, now the next question is, which is very important. How do you follow the best practice in flow? So, guys, this is very, very important questions in terms of interview and in terms of your, daily work routine, whatever you implement in the flow. So, the very first thing is you have to make sure whatever you are going to write, which flow. So, first of all, understand the requirement. Whatever is your requirement, just try to understand and then think about the solution. Okay, which, because you have a multiple flow here, so now decide which flow can solve your problem. Okay, just see the whole analysis and then decide which flow you needs to create. Okay, this is first thing. Second thing, whenever you are writing a flow, so you should be very careful about the naming convention. Why it is important? Because this is something, we can give any name. That's not a big deal, but the naming convention is very important. Let's say you create some flow, right? And you just given the any other name. I mean, something you given. But later on, some developer came and they are trying to understand by the name, oh, what this flow is do. Then they go to the depth in the flow, each and every thing they have to see. Then they'll be able to understand what exactly this flow is doing. But instead of if you earlier, do these things by the naming convention, you decided, okay, this is the trigger, this is the flow on code, but it's only which event, it is on after event, and then it is just updating this particular object. Okay, so that thing they will be able to understand, okay, this flow is doing these things. So this is the second thing. Next thing is never ever do some kind of what will get loop inside loop, and because in query you can also do looping in the and you should try to use the sort and filter. Nowadays we have a sorting and filter available in available components in Salesforce Flow, so that's what you have to use, guys. And apart from it, definitely, we have exception handling. That exception handling is very important. Let's say you are getting some error, but you are exactly not able to understand at which point this error is occurring. But you have properly apply your exception handling in the flow. You will be able to understand, guys. Okay. Other thing is always don't create a much complex single flow. Always try to scatter it, like it will be you can create the subflow, that mean the auto launch flow. Okay, so just create the auto launch flow. Your main logic should be inside the auto launch flow, and your common logic should inside the main flow. So that is your thing should be in your mind. Whatever is the common details, or might be someone is using the same flow multiple times, they are calling from the other flows. So just try to do that so someone can use your flow. Okay, it doesn't mean like you just created it and yet for single feature it's working. That does not the looks the good practice, as well as the governor limit in Salesforce. Apart from it, like always think about the variables name. Whatever variables name you are giving, try to more use formula fields are available in flows instead of doing a lot of things. And yes, one important thing is you should have the bypass check at the initial point, because later on in your business they are seeking for the bypass. So that make sure you have one custom setting for it, and then as you know, like custom setting can control this bypassing the validation rule or either the floor, like etc. So this is all about the best practice, guys. Now next question is, why should we use before record trigger? So this is very basic. Whenever you need to update the same object record, or let's say you are creating a record, you need to pre-fill some field there. Okay, so in that case you need to use the before record trigger. And in case of validation also, let's say you need to have some validation, and that validation is not fulfilled by the simple validation rule, then you have to go with the before trigger first. Okay, then if it is not still fulfilling, then go for the trigger, guys. So that's are the actually use of this. How do you handle exception handling? So that is again very important question. That question you have to make sure, as Salesforce provide the what it's called the error handling path, right? So in that path you can add some error, and you should be make sure on each and every DML statement, each and every query, okay, each and every query you should be apply that, because you don't know whenever query is getting failed, whenever DML operation is getting failed, so at that time your system should be throw an exception, so you will be able to understand at what point I'm getting this error, guys. Okay, so now the question is, how can you control the order of execution? Again, this is very important, because let's say you have a three before record trigger flow. Because before record trigger flow, you can create multiple. But again, you want to control the order of execution here. Why? Because you have a multiple flow at the same time, and you want to execute one after another, right? So in that scenario, what you can do, so there is one particular field available on the details, which is called the order of execution. Just give the number there, 10, 20, 30, something. Make sure just give the above the 10, because there might be chance in future you have to create some more flows, and that's you want to execute first. So in that case, you don't have to be, update all the flows. So just update the single flow, and rest are, just after the 20 you are giving. So that will be a good approach, guys. Okay, so next question is, what are the formula field info? So that is nothing but like normal formula field we have, and it just used for get some values, some in some conditions you want to use it, right? And same way like as a formula field we use in the normal Salesforce, so same way we have this. Okay, now the next question is, how can you make bulkify flow? Okay, so guys, this is again very important, because we always talk about make it bulkify, but what is this bulkify, right? Is it not like you are just creating it for one record, and it's not whenever it's come to the picture for multiple record, and let's say you are having a data migration activity and your flow is also executing at the same time, but you are getting an error, then what happened? So make sure you should always use the collection. Okay, and whatever DML operation you are doing that using the collection, not the single record. Because what happen when multiple record will come, it will getting failed and it will not process for the multiple records, guys. Okay, so always use the collection is nothing but a variable. You just need to create one collection variable, and whatever single variable, single object record, just adding that. Okay, adding that. So let's say you're having a loop, then add first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th record, and last, all the record has done, then come out from the loop and just have the DML. Again, never ever have the DML inside the loop. Okay, this is otherwise there will be a problem for you guys. So make sure it as well. What is the latest update about the flow recently you read? So just make sure, because a lot of things are coming in nowadays. So make sure you should be aware. I mean, it's not about the current updates, current release. You just know previous one, but make sure you are aware about it. Okay. Can you explain the concept of flow version? So flow version is nothing but, guys, it just let's say you create a flow, right? And now you are testing it. So make sure before activating, your flow is working as expecting. Don't make it activate. So that is the main problem. Many folks do this things. So they create and activate, and then they just test the flow. So before activate, guys, try to debug your flow. If flow is giving the as expected result, then go for the activation part. And later on, maybe you'll getting some error, but at least it's giving some expectation result, right? So that's you can know using these things. Now describe how to use subflow, so and their benefits actually. So subflow again is very important whenever you want to be make sure like only this flow should be on the basis of some condition, right? And other benefit is whenever you want to create some reusable flow. So let's say you having one subflow which is also used for the create the opportunity, right? And update the opportunity, so that that flow you are using from the code record, that's flow you are using from the account, from the contact. So like this, whenever you have such a requirement, you just go with the Subflow. And it is also used for reduce the complexity of your main flow. So whenever you see your flow and you have written all the codes, all the logic inside the single flow, then it will be look very worst. And someone who want to add something in that particular flow, he will be just try to understand, you spend more times first of all to understand that flow. But if your flow is simple and straightforward and you are just having multiple things to do from the main flow, you are creating one single flow for main, what it's called, uh, subflow for A, B, C, D, E, right? So those flow you are just calling for a main flow. So someone who came and just check, okay, this flow is doing this thing. Okay, this flow is doing this thing. So the naming convention again is very important here, right? And it will make your job easy, because all the times not all flow is getting executed, only that flow will be calling which are required, I mean which needs to be executed. So using subflow, that will be also you can filterize it more, guys, okay? Because you never want like our governor limit will be hit so many, you don't have much filter, you don't have this structure, so your flow will be crash, and it will be system will well be very slow. So it will be reduce this complexity and make your system fast, right? So there are another maybe benefits, but these are the major areas, guys. Okay. Explain the role of schedule flow. Schedule flow are useful for tasks and need to run at specific time. Okay. So as we have we can say batch class. Let's say you need to run a batch class at particular time. So same way we have a schedule flow, specific time, 90 data processing, record, update, regular data maintenance, task, something like this. You needs to be do. So using that you can do, guys. Okay. Now the next question is, you need to design a flow that update related records when a primary record is modified. Describe your approach. What approach will be work here? So the answer is, I would create a record trigger flow that execute when the primary record is updated. The flow would use the record lookup to find the related record and record update to modify them accordingly. Okay. So first of all, we'll be look up the record and then we'll be updating that, guys. Okay. Can you make a call out an external system using Flow? Starting with sprint, release 23, you can do this, guys. Salesforce allow you to make the HTTP get and post call out using the Salesforce Flow. Before making an HTTP call out with the Salesforce Flow, we need to configure the HTTP setting permission in our Salesforce. Okay, make sure this is very important. Now the next question is, which operator is not does not support in the asynchronous path Salesforce flow? That is each change, right? So let's say you need to check this variable is getting changed or this field is getting changed, then only I want to execute my flow. But in case of asynchronous path of Salesforce flow, that means scheduled trigger flow, sorry, asynchronous flow, you will be not able to do this. Okay. Now the next question is, flow can replace the apex trigger. So that's you see a lot of things, I mean on the LinkedIn and some other things as well. I am not sure like it will be replaced as per the current scenarios and implementation might be in future, but not now, because if you see there are a lot of stuffs always we need to write a code, because Salesforce provide you more a lot of out of configuration tool, but still Salesforce required the this coding part, guys. Okay, the older approach has more flexibility and meets more complex scenarios, especially than moving involving deep integration. Okay, so whenever it's talk about the complexity and more complex logic or more complex business process, at that scenario we definitely use the apex trigger. But maybe Salesforce always having the updates, definitely everyone would be like to love this. Okay, how does the Salesforce flow adhere to company security and sharing setting? When creating a flow, you can decide whether it should run in the context of system, in the context of existing user. It's totally depend on the business and the requirement, guys. Okay, so you can make sure operating a flow in the system context will avoid object level and field level security. The flow must run in the current user context to maintain the company security and sharing settings. So whatever sharing model you have implemented, so it will be always make sure whenever you are doing it with the user specific, so that user it will check whatever record access, field level access, object level access, if that particular user has, then only this flow will be executed. Okay, so we can use it. Can you describe flow that automatically assign a lead to appropriate sales representative for their source? I would like to create an auto launch flow that is triggered by the creation or update of lead record trigger. And to determine the lead source, the flow would use the decision element and it would then use an assignment element to go to the right sales representative for the based on the what decision came. So simply you can check like what is the source for this particular lead, and accordingly you can assign this. So that is very easy. Use flow to automatically close a case if has been inactive more than 30 days. So I will create an auto launch flow which run on the schedule using the option to schedule trigger flow within update record elements. Okay, get records could first we find those cases that have been inactive for last 30 days. So that means you just why we are having this, because it will not using the record trigger flow. Every day it will execute first, it will check how many records are available and the created date and the today's date. So if the difference between more than 30 days, then just make it immediately deactivate or close it. Okay, so that is the approach to make this kind of flow. Now the next question is, can you give a detailed method for designing a flow to handle the situation which the status of multiple opportunity record is change mass based on the some condition. Okay, I will use the get record element to get the list of opportunity record that meet the condition. Then loop element will allow me to cycle through all the records and assign elements. Let us change on their status. Finally, I use the update record element to change the we want save. So as per the perspective, a lot of elements also come into the picture. Okay, but yes, this can solve the problem. What are the platform event trigger flow in Salesforce? So platform event are part of the event driven architecture, allow different apps, whether inside or outside the Salesforce, to communicate. They work by using the publish subscribe model, and system term message allows to manage the incoming events. Okay. Using platform event trigger flow consolidate all your automation in a single location. Okay. It allow user to activate a flow whenever they receive a platform event message. Now the next question is, what are the different ways to capture error message when working with the Salesforce Flow? Flow are the ways to capture error message using the fold connector, create a case, post to chatter, and sending an email. So guys, this is all about the Salesforce Flow interview question and answer. So I'm going to record one sessions which will be depth. Will talk about all the flows and I'll give you the depth knowledge with the practical implementation, guys. Okay. So hope you all are good with this question. So as of now, we are good and see you soon, guys. Okay, stay tuned to the Salesforce